She made a scene at the cafe and scolded the wrong millionaire, and his mother wanted her as a daughter-in-law. Before we get into the story, let us know in the comments what city you're watching from. And when we're done, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Corsets, gim, ridiculous red suit, slicked back hair, and a flower in the lapel, she muttered to herself, hiding behind the window of the fancy cafe on Park Avenue. On the other side of the glass, seated elegantly at the window table, was a man in a bright red suit and a blonde woman who was laughing far too loudly. Scarlett didn't need more proof. This was Mark, her best friend Lisa's fiancé. And just as she suspected, he was cheating in broad daylight, no less, in the same cafe where he was supposed to have brunch with Lisa just a week earlier. Jerk. Low-life coward, she whispered, marching toward the entrance of the restaurant. Scarlett wasn't one to watch injustice in silence. If Lisa didn't have the courage to confront the cheater, Scarlett had 3 times that. And today was about justice, or at the very least one serious scene. She walked in with purpose, her heels echoing on the marble floor. A waiter tried to stop her, but she dodged him like a heat-seeking missile. There he was, red suit, slick hair, sitting at the table with an elegant gray-haired woman who carried herself like royalty. Scarlett stopped right in front of the table, took a deep breath and shouted, "Mark, you rotten, shameless cucumber. You cheap traitor." Heads turned. The waiter froze. Somewhere in the back, a fork hit the floor. As if cheating on Lisa wasn't enough, now you dress like this, a red suit. Who do you think you are? The Santa Claus at betrayal. And you, ma'am? No offense. All right. But with all due respect, you're elegant, refined. Your hair shines like something out of a truly young. No Botox. And she doesn't look like a retired Chanel executive. The man blinked, confused. The woman choked on her tea. Excuse me, who are you? The man asked, clearly surprised. Scarlett didn't flinch. Don't pretend you don't know me, Mark. I'm Scarlett, Lisa's friend. The one you swore to love, respect, and take to Paris, but you never did. The woman chuckled. Scarlett, is it? She said with a refined accent and an amused expression. My dear, you just yelled at the wrong man. And what a delightful mix-up. You've just gone up in my estimation. Wait. Scarlett blinked. What? This is my son, Grant Costa, and we don't know any Lisa. In fact, he's not engaged to anyone. He's single. Very much single, if I may say so. Scarlett's eyes widened. The color drained from her face. She looked again. The man in the red suit had green eyes, definitely not Mark's, and the nose narrower. The hair darker. Oh no. She slowly turned her head to another table 2 rows back, where the real Mark, also in a red suit, was laughing with a blonde woman. And when he saw her, he slipped away. Quietly. She had made a scene at the wrong table. Oh, she said, her voice now barely a whisper. Well, that's kind of embarrassing. Kind of? Grant muttered, trying to hide a smile. But before Scarlett could run out the door or disappear into the floor, the older woman stood up with a gleam in her eyes. What's your full name, dear? Scarlett Miller. She took Scarlett's hand firmly and announced loud enough for everyone to hear. Scarlett Miller. A star's name. A storm of a personality. You're perfect. Perfect for what? Scarlett asked, still in full panic mode. To set my son straight. What? That's right. I'm Elena Costa. Mother of the rotten cucumber. I mean Grant. And my dear anyone on this earth can straighten this boy out, it's you. Grant coughed. Mom, please. No, Grant. I mean it. You. She turned to Scarlett. Dear, your new office is on the 12th floor. I think you'll have a lot of work reorganizing things around here. Malfada was white as a sheet. Mrs. Costa, I apologize if there was any misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding, Elena said. There was an attempt to sabotage my daughter-in-law. You have 1 week to prove you deserve to keep working under Scarlett's supervision. Elena kissed Scarlett on the cheek and whispered, Welcome to leadership, dear. Use it wisely. After Elena left, Scarlett looked at Malfa and Mark, who were still in shock. "Well," she said calmly, "I think we have a lot of work ahead of us. Mata, I need a full report on all hotel operations on my desk by 9 a.m. tomorrow. And Mark, you can start packing your things." Mark left the office in silence, defeated. Malfata stood there, still trying to process what had just happened. "How?" she murmured. "How did you, Malfa?" "Scarlett, that's always been your weakness." As Malfata walked out of the office humiliated, Scarlett looked out the window and smiled. She still didn't fully understand everything that was happening in her life. But one thing was certain. Elena Costa was a mother-in-law who knew how to take care of her family. And it looked like Scarlett was starting to realize she had more influence than she ever imagined. 3 weeks after her sudden promotion to vice president, Scarlett was starting to adjust to her new reality. Her office on the 12th floor had a view of Central Park, a mahogany desk that cost more than a car, and a highly efficient assistant named Patricia, who managed her schedule with military precision. Malfata, now working under her, had become the picture of forced professionalism. She arrived early, stayed late, and treated Scarlett with a cold politeness that bordered on comical. According to rumors, Mark had disappeared from New York entirely, supposedly taking a job in Chicago. That Thursday, the Meridian Hotel was hosting the most important event of the quarter, the Hamilton Foundation Charity Gala, which would bring together Manhattan's elite to raise funds for children's hospitals. Scarlett was personally overseeing every detail, from the white orchid arrangements to the 5-course menu, created by the most sought-after French chef in town. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, while supervising the setup in the main ballroom, Scarlett heard raised voices coming from the service hallway. She immediately recognized one of them, Sofia Ramirez, one of the hotel's most dedicated waitresses, always working with a genuine smile and a sharp eye for detail. "That's not true," Sofia said, her voice shaking. "I would never do something like that." "The evidence is clear," replied a harsh male voice that Scarlett recognized as Robert Chun, the food and beverage supervisor. "2 bottles of Dom Perignon champagne are missing from the stockroom, and you were the last one to access it last night." Scarlett walked closer quietly and saw Sofia with red eyes holding a tissue in her trembling hands. Robert stood with his arms crossed, looking stern, while Malfata watched with barely hidden interest. "Mr. Chun," Sofia said in a broken voice, "I swear on my children's lives I didn't take anything. You've known me for 3 years. I would never steal from this hotel." "Feelings don't change facts," Robert said coldly. "The inventory was complete when you left, and this morning we discovered the bottles were gone. You're the only logical explanation, but that makes no sense," Sofia protested. "Why would I steal expensive champagne? I don't even drink." Malfata stepped in with a fake, concerned smile. "Sofia dear, I know your financial situation has been tough. 2 small kids, late rent. Maybe you thought selling the bottles could help fix a few problems. How do you know about my financial situation?" Sofia asked, surprised. "I'm the manager, Sofia. It's my job to know my staff." Scarlett felt her blood boil. She had known Sofia for 2 years and knew she was as honest as they came. She worked 2 jobs to raise her kids on her own after her husband left, and she had never missed a shift or arrived late. "Excuse me," Scarlett said, stepping in. "What's going on here?" "Vice President Costa," Robert said, quickly changing his tone to one of respect. "We're dealing with the theft. Sofia Ramirez stole 2 bottles of Dom Perignon from our stock." "That's a very serious accusation," Scarlett said calmly. "Do you have solid proof?" Malfata stepped forward. "The circumstantial evidence is clear. Sofia was the last one in the stockroom and the bottles disappeared during the night." "Circumstantial evidence?" Scarlett repeated. "Robert, show me exactly where these bottles were stored." They walked to the climate-controlled stockroom in the basement. Robert pointed to a shelf in the special wine section. "Right there. 3rd shelf. We had 12 bottles for tonight's event. Now we have 10. Scarlett examined the area carefully. Sophia, tell me exactly what you did here last night. I came to get the crystal glasses for today's event, said Sophia, still trembling. They're kept in that cabinet over there. I took 6 boxes, checked to make sure everything was in order, locked the storage room and left. What time was that? 10:30 at night. The night shift didn't start until 11 o'clock. Scarlett looked around at the storage layout. Something didn't add up. Robert, who has access to the storage room besides authorized staff? Only management and supervisors and the cleaning crew, of course. Cleaning crew? Scarlett raised an eyebrow. What hours do they work? From 11 at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. And did you check with them? Robert hesitated. Well, we didn't think that it was necessary. All the evidence clearly points to Sophia. What evidence? Scarlett asked, crossing her arms. So far, all I've heard are assumptions. Malfada stepped in. Scarlett, I know you want to protect the staff, but we can't. Ignore the facts. What facts, Malfada? Scarlett turned to her with a cold stare. Give me one solid fact that proves Sophia took anything. She was the last authorized person in the storage room before the theft was discovered. So what? That doesn't prove anything. Robert, bring me a full list of everyone who entered the storage room in the last 48 hours. Vice President, I don't think I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm giving you an order. 20 minutes later, Robert returned with a printed report. Scarlett examined it carefully while Sophia waited anxiously, and Malfada tapped her fingers impatiently. Interesting, Scarlett murmured. Sophia went in at 10:30 last night and left at 10:45. But look here. James Mitchell from the cleaning crew entered at 11:15, and there's no record of him leaving. Must be a system error, Robert said quickly. Or maybe James forgot to clock out, added Malfada. That happens all the time. Then let's speak to James, said Scarlett. Patricia, bring James Mitchell to my office right away. 15 minutes later, everyone was gathered in Scarlett's office. James Mitchell was a nervous man in his 50s, sweating heavily despite the air conditioning. James, Scarlett said calmly, were you working in the storage room last night? Yes, ma'am. Just the usual cleaning routine. And do you remember seeing anything unusual? James hesitated, glancing nervously at Robert and Malfa. No, ma'am. Everything seemed normal. Are you sure? Scarlett leaned forward. Because your badge didn't record your exit. Why is that? I forgot to clock out. James, how long have you worked here? 7 years, ma'am. And in 7 years, how often have you forgotten to clock out? James swallowed hard. Rarely, ma'am. Scarlett stood and walked over to the window thinking. Then she turned around with a determined expression. James, let me ask you something. Where do you live? In the Bronx, ma'am. And how do you get home after your shift? By subway, ma'am. The subway at 6 o'clock in the morning must be packed. Hard to carry extra items, right? James began to sweat even more. Yes, ma'am. That's why you left the champagne bottles in your locker here at the hotel, isn't it? So you could come back for them later when it was less crowded. Silence fell over the room. James looked down, defeated. How did you figure it out? He whispered. Simple logic, Scarlett said. Sophia doesn't drink. She has 2 young children and an impeccable reputation. She'd never steal something she couldn't even sell easily. You, on the other hand, have unrestricted access to the storage room during the night when no one is around. Robert was speechless. James, is this true? I need the money, James admitted, breaking down. My wife is sick and the medication is expensive. Where are the bottles? Scarlett asked, not without compassion. In my locker in the staff room. Scarlett turned to Sophia, who was crying with relief. Sophia, you are completely cleared of any accusation, and I want you to know your job is secure. In fact, I'm promoting you to supervisor of the special events team. Thank you, ma'am. Sophia could barely speak through the emotion. Thank you for believing in me, Robert said, Scarlett turning to the supervisor. James will be transferred to another department with reduced pay. But he won't be fired. We're going to help him find resources to take care of his wife. As for you, I hope this teaches you to investigate properly before making accusations. Yes, ma'am. I apologize for the mistake. Scarlett turned to Malfada, who was visibly uncomfortable. Malfada, I need to speak with you alone. Once everyone had left, Scarlett faced her subordinate. You knew it wasn't Sophia, didn't you? What do you mean? You know every employee's financial situation, remember? Including James. I bet you knew he was desperate for money. Malfada didn't reply, but her expression confirmed Scarlett's suspicion. You let Sophia be accused unfairly, hoping I would fire her. Why? Because she's competent and well-liked. Scarlett, you're being paranoid. No, Melfa, I'm being observant. This is your last chance to prove you can work as part of a team. The next time you try to sabotage an innocent colleague, you'll be looking for a job somewhere else. At that moment, the office door opened and Elena Costa walked in with her usual grandeur, wearing a royal blue Valentino dress and proud smile. My dear daughter-in-law, she said, kissing Scarlett on the cheek. I just spoke with Sophia in the hallway. She told me everything. Mrs. Costa, what are you doing here? I came for tonight's gala. Of course, and good thing I did. I just witnessed a brilliant example of leadership and fairness. Elena turned to Malfada with a frosty smile. Malfada, isn't it? I've heard quite a bit about you, Mrs. Costa. It's an honor. Is it? Elena cut her off because from what I've seen, you seem to have a tendency to create unnecessary problems. Madam, I was just quiet. Elena raised her hand gracefully. Scarlett, dear, you handled this situation perfectly. Intelligence, compassion, and firmness. Exactly the qualities we expect from our family. Elena opened her Hermes purse and pulled out a sealed envelope. This is for you. A small token of appreciation for your outstanding work. Scarlett opened the envelope and found a legal document. Her eyes widened as she read it. Mrs. Costa, this is a performance bonus equal to 20% of the shares you already own in the company. Elena said casually. Now you have even more stake in the family business. Malfada turned pale. Shares? What shares? Elena smiled mysteriously. Ah, dear Malfada. There's so much you don't know about our Scarlett. She's not just the vice president of this hotel. She's a co-owner of the entire Costa Group. How is that possible? Malfada stammered. It's possible when you marry my son and prove day after day that you deserve to be part of this family. Elena replied. Something some people will never understand. Elena kissed Scarlett again. Dear, I need to get ready for the gala. I expect to see you shining tonight as always. After Elena left, Malfa looked at Scarlett with a mix of shock and envy. You really own part of the company? Apparently yes, Scarlett said, still processing it. And Malfa, I want you to understand something. I don't use that power to hurt anyone. Use it to protect those who deserve protection and to do what's right. Like Sophia. Like any honest employee who's treated unfairly. Malfada nodded slowly. Scarlett, I'm sorry. Accept your apology, Malfada, but now we need to work together. We have a gala to run and it's going to be perfect. That night, the Hamilton Foundation Charity Gala was an absolute success. Scarlett moved around the ballroom, receiving compliments from clients and guests, while Elena Costa proudly introduced her as my brilliant daughter-in-law. Sophia in her new supervisor's uniform directed the wait staff with efficiency and confidence. James worked quietly in the kitchen, grateful for his second chance. The morning after the gala, Scarlett was in her office reviewing client satisfaction reports when Grant appeared at the door. She still found it strange to see him at the hotel. After all, he had never mentioned having any connection to where she worked. Good morning, wife, he said with an ironic smile, leaning against the doorframe. Grant, what are you doing here? Business, he answered vaguely. Actually, I came to invite you to something. My company is holding an accountability meeting this afternoon, and I'd like you to attend. Scarlett frowned. Why would I go to one of your company's meetings? Because you have experience in hotel management and we're analyzing investments in the industry. Your perspective would be valuable. Grant, you work in technology, not hotels. Technology applied to many sectors, including hospitality, he said, keeping his tone casual. Do you trust me? Scarlett studied him for a moment. There was something he wasn't telling her, but curiosity got the better of her doubts. All right, what time? 3 o'clock. I'll pick you up here. After Grant left, Scarlett couldn't fully focus on her work. There was something strange in the way he talked about the company, as if he were hiding something important. Around noon, Patricia walked into her office looking concerned. Vice President Costa, there's something I need to tell you. Malfatti was going through the computer files this morning. What kind of files? Financial reports, hotel performance data, revenue projections. She printed several documents and left with them. Scarlett felt a chill in her stomach. Thank you for telling me, Patricia. Let's keep this just between us for now. At exactly 3 o'clock, Grant appeared in the hotel lobby wearing a dark gray suit that made him look even more serious and professional than usual. Ready? He asked. Ready? Where are we going? Costa Tower Financial District. The name sounded familiar, but Scarlett couldn't place it. During the taxi ride, Grant stayed quiet, checking messages on his phone with a focused expression. Costa Tower was an impressive glass and steel skyscraper in the heart of Manhattan. When they stepped into the elevator, Grant pressed the button for the 40th floor. Big company, Scarlett commented. Fairly big, he replied, but there was something in his tone she couldn't quite read. When the elevator doors opened, Scarlett found herself in a sleek hallway, with glass walls revealing a large conference room. At least 20 people were already seated around a table the size of a small apartment. Grant, she whispered, this doesn't look like a casual investment meeting. Before he could respond, a receptionist approached them. Mr. Costa, everyone is waiting. Scarlett stopped in her tracks. Mr. Costa, Grant, what's going on here? I'll explain later, he said, guiding her into the room. Just trust me for now. The meeting began with formal introductions. Scarlett was introduced as special consultant in hotel management, but it was clear her presence sparked curiosity among the executives in the room. Everything seemed routine until the CFO, a bald man named Richardson, announced, "We have some concerns about the Hotel Meridian's performance last quarter." Scarlett straightened in her seat. This was her area. What kind of concerns? Grant asked. Richardson opened a folder and began reading. According to the documents we received, there was a 15% drop in customer satisfaction, a 20% rise in operating costs, and at least 3 serious misconduct incidents by management. Scarlett felt the blood drain from her face. She knew those numbers and they were all wrong. Excuse me, she said, raising her hand. May I see those documents? Richardson hesitated and looked at Grant, who nodded. Scarlett quickly scanned the pages and felt her anger rising. The data had been deliberately manipulated. Numbers were changed, dates altered, entire reports fabricated. These documents are false, she said calmly. A murmur spread around the room. Richardson looked offended. Miss Costa, that's a very serious accusation. Yes, it is, Scarlett agreed, standing up. And I can prove it. She walked over to the whiteboard on the wall and picked up a marker. First, let's talk about customer satisfaction. According to our real records, which I can access in real time through the hotel system, she pulled out her phone and opened the hotel platform. Our satisfaction score rose to 93% this quarter. She wrote the numbers on the board. Second, operating costs, yes, they did increase, but only by 5% due to investments and upgrades that led to that rise in customer satisfaction. Scarlett continued, presenting real data, countering each false claim from the documents. Her presentation was clear, logical, and impossible to dispute. And about the misconduct incidents, she said, turning to face Richardson, I'd like to know where that information came from. Considering there were no reported incidents last quarter, the room fell completely silent. Grant watched with a mix of pride and amusement. Also, Scarlett added, To clear up any doubt about my ability to interpret this data, I can present the same report in English, Spanish, and French. She turned to the whiteboard and began writing fluently in all three languages, translating each key point of her presentation. The executives watched, clearly impressed. "And Paul," she said, writing quickly. "Expect." Then she switched to French. "Services." When she finished, she turned to the room with a calm expression. "Now I'd really like to know who provided these false documents and why." Richardson looked visibly uncomfortable. "I received those reports from an external source who identified herself as the hotel manager. Name? Scarlett. Ascoli. Malfata Winters." Scarlett nodded, not surprised. "And I imagine the same source suggested I wasn't the right person to represent this meeting." "Well, yes, she said you didn't have the proper qualifications to what?" Scarlett crossed her arms. "To manage a hotel with a 93% guest satisfaction rate, to organize events that generate millions in revenue, or to present accurate data in 3 languages." Grant stood up. Slowly, and for the first time since they entered the room, he took on a presence Scarlett had never seen in him before: authoritative, confident, clearly someone used to being in charge. "Consultant. She is vice president of the Meridian Hotel and my wife." Murmurs filled the room. "Second, anyone who tries to sabotage her reputation or question her competence will be dealing directly with me. And third," he paused, "for effect. I hope today made it clear what level of excellence we expect from our team." Richardson looked pale. "Mr. Costa, I didn't know she was your wife." "You do now," Grant said sharply. "And I hope that ends any further doubts about her qualifications." After the meeting, in the elevator going down, Scarlett finally turned to Grant. "All right, now you're going to explain what that was all about." Grant smiled, clearly more relaxed. "That was you proving how brilliant you are." "Grant, they called you Mr. Costa." "This is Costa Tech, isn't it?" "It is. And I'm the president of the company." Scarlett leaned against the wall of the elevator, trying to process. "You're the president of the company that owns the hotel I work for." "Technically, my mother is chair of the board. I just handle day-to-day operations." "Grant, why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to shine on your own, which you did today." The elevator doors opened on the ground floor, but Scarlett didn't move. "Did Malfa know you were testing me?" "No. She genuinely tried to sabotage you by sending those fake reports. She thought she was hurting you and doing me a favor." At the same time, Scarlett shook her head, still taking it all in. "Your family is more complicated than I thought." "Wait until you meet my dad," Grant said with a smile. "But today you are amazing. 3 languages, Scarlett. Really? Hotel management school. Language skills are required." "Well, you impressed the whole room, including me." As they walked out of the building, Scarlett looked up and saw the Costa Tower rising majestically against the New York sky. "So, I'm actually married to the president of one of the biggest companies in the city." "Technically, yes. And Malfata tried to sabotage me without realizing she was trying to bring down her own boss's wife." "Yes." Scarlett started laughing, at first quietly, then louder and louder. "What?" Grant asked, puzzled. "It's just poor Malfata. She really has no idea what she got herself into, does she?" Grant smiled too. "None. But you do." And for the first time since their arranged marriage, Scarlett looked at Grant and thought that maybe being married to him wasn't the worst thing that had ever happened to her. On the way home, they talked more in 30 minutes than they had in all the previous weeks combined. "So," Scarlett said, still processing everything, "your mother really arranged our marriage knowing exactly who you were and where I worked." "Knowing my mother, she probably investigated your entire life before our wedding day," Grant replied, laughing. "Elena Costa doesn't do anything by chance. That explains a lot, like how she knew I worked at the Meridian and about my financial situation." Grant nodded and smiled. They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the city go by. Finally, Grant turned to her. "Scarlett, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you regret it saying yes to marrying me?" She thought carefully before answering. "Honestly, in the beginning, yes. I thought you were all completely crazy, but now I don't know. It's been interesting. Interesting. That's a polite way of saying chaotic, unpredictable, and strangely fun. Grant laughed. That's the best description of